Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Barry Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Got a brand new company to talk about. I first learned about this company when I was speaking with Denny Laviolette a few months ago. And recently, someone from my WhatsApp group for Rocks and Stocks News prompted me to do my homework, which I'm happy I did because today they came out with some really good news. And I wanted to have Sklepovich. I butchered it on you, Stefan.
That's all right. I'm used to it, Alan.
On today. Stefan, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So, for my audience, why don't you just give a quick sort of rundown overview of Kirkland Lake Discoveries Corp?
Sure. So, Kirkland Lake Discoveries Corp. Has been around in its current entity for 2 years. Before that, it was Warrior Gold and a large asset from Newfound Gold. And so, about 2 years ago, Newfound Gold vended in the Lucky Strike property, which is now KL East in our portfolio. And at that time, basically took over as a 50% shareholder of Warrior Gold, and then there was a rollback, a raise at that point in time to become Kirkland Lake Discoveries. So our total land package is 40,000 hectares. We're focused entirely in the Blake River group of rocks, which is just north of Kirkland Lake proper. The Blake River group of rocks on the Quebec side of the border are very well endowed, VMS type of deposits all around these intrusions. So that basically, if you think of toothpaste coming up through the earth and squeezing up, that's your Pluton. Um, and around that, a lot of times it'll remobilize or move around minerals. And so that's what we're chasing on our side of the border. And it's been overlooked because um, exploration, basically, they'd always had this dogma that there was nothing north of the break, the Kirkland Lake main break. But it's a different style of mineralization that we're chasing. We're not going after the lode gold that Kirkland Lake is known for. We're looking at more of this big polymetallic systems that are gold rich, but looking at it from a different lens than what people have done in the past.
I think you can sort of break your project into two areas because I actually saw what is screaming to be drilled for a gold target over to the east a little bit on your project. There's a big network of structures there.
Yeah,
And folks, these are very important for the fluids that carry the metals to make their way up in. And you've got some great surface samples over there. So, but that's not the topic of today's talk. Today, you've put out news on your drilling, and as Stefan said, he's talking about an intrusion here, like the toothpaste, and what's really important is that it's what's on the outer edge of it. That's the where I you got two rock packages there that the fluids can make their way up as a path of least resistance. Did I get that
exactly.
right, Stefan?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the entire thesis that we're chasing right now. There's a large Pluton on our west side, the Winnie Lake Pluton or Winnie Pluton. And for the longest time, everyone always said, "Oh, that's just a tombstone granite, like nothing's in it." But nobody looked at the context. Nobody looked at the edges of it. And when you have a 40,000 hectare land package, you need to do something to make it more manageable, make it into bite-sized pieces. And so we did soil sampling over the entire program, or sorry, over the entire west side of the property. And what ended up coming back was the pathfinder elements for an intrusive based mineralized system. So we had elevated bismuth, elevated moly, elevated tellurium, gold, silver, zinc, copper around the edges of this Pluton. And so that's what started this whole, you know, exploration thesis was like, wait a minute, like, is this just a coincidence that all of these pockets of mineralization are around the edges here and they just happen to align with magnetic highs? And so we started looking around, and that was where we found some previous drilling from Winnie Lake, which was they thought it was a VMS. They didn't look at it as an intrusive-based system, and so, they had encountered the similar mineralization to what we've hit now, but the context is completely different in that they were looking at it from a standpoint of like this is a VMS system versus the intrusion. And with the intrusion influencing everything around it, then it opens up the rest of that intrusive body, which is a total of 17 kilometers. So
So
it's
is it the is it the intrusion that you think is what's caused the mineralization, or is that just a sort of a good at the contact, a good conduit for those fluids to make their way up?
We think it's that exactly, Alan. So more
So it's
the conduit,
related.
more the contact in the fluids, not necessarily that the intrusion was mineralizing by itself, but the existing rocks surrounding it, those mafic volcanics, basically they already had a lot of mineralization in them, and so that heat engine from the intrusion basically cooked those edges and remobilized a lot of the stuff. And then any fluids that were coming up with that intrusion pulled out of those rocks as well.
Ah, interesting. So,
Yeah.
my mentor in geophysics, he was the world exploration manager for Anglo, before I
Nice.
worked with him. And he often said to me, sometimes the magic works and sometimes the magic doesn't work.
Yeah.
But what he
That's
did,
that's why I've always called geophysics geofantasy. It's this beautiful thing, and then half the time it's perfectly accurate, and the other half you're like, well, I'm not sure what that was. So
well, but he did go on to say that when you can confirm your geophysical anomaly with drill holes, the truth machine,
yeah.
then you've got the magic working, and it it certainly stood out to me. You can really see the geophysical, the mag high surrounding that intrusive body. And so that's really, you've got a good targeting tool there.
Yeah, we think so. We think so. And it's still relatively early stages for the remainder of that intrusion, which is the exciting part. We've scratched the surface with this drill hole that we put out today. We still don't know what the assays came back, but the fact that we had a lot of potassic alteration in the core and a lot of fluids was very exciting. That's where as much as the massive sulfides and semi-massive, like those are beautiful and it was incredible core there, but it was the fluids that went along with it and how the rock was altered and changed like that's such a bigger system. And that's the exciting part of what we're chasing.
So, folks, when he talks about alteration, when the metals bearing fluids hit the country rock, they chemically alter that rock, and that's called an alteration. And so, when you have a lot of alteration, it's indicative of a powerful system that brought those fluids up. And in this case, those fluids have massive sulfides and semi-massive sulfides, which is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the the potential contact, that's the cool part is the amount of surface area that could be touching that has that is just massive. Like
Yeah.
it's
Huge.
it's incredible
How
how
big is that
much.
intrusion?
So if we go, it's not perfectly mapped at this point in time again because it's early stages, but it's about 17 kilometers around.
Well,
Uh,
it may not be perfectly mapped, but the geophysics sure are perfectly picking it up.
yeah, exactly. It's very clear, what where it's sitting. So yeah, we think it's about 17 kilometers that we're working
Oh,
with. And we have 8 high priority targets around that intrusion from the geochemistry, because geochemistry doesn't lie necessarily. It's not necessarily the perfect tool by any means, but when you combine that with the geophysics, that's where we have something to work with
and the truth machine, most
in the truth
important.
machine. Exactly.
Now, I also noticed that there was a fair bit of magnetite in there, so that's good. The geophysics can pick up that magnetite really well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you said it perfectly, Alan. That's exactly what it does. And that was one of the reasons that we did a high resolution survey. We got out there this summer, well, spring realistically, and we saw the magnetite and it's butted against the mineralization pretty much. So it came in with it or it remobilized with those fluids. And so that's what we're looking for is magnetic highs. And so when we did our high resolution drone survey, it really brought out more contacts than we thought were there. Where it was, a blob from the regional survey, and then we have a lot more contours and ins and outs, which can create better traps for those fluids. And so that like again, it's still early stages, but we have so many of those different targets now. We're like, okay, well, what about this? What about this? And we can go across here, and then we got to come down here. And the other piece that came back from the spring program was the bismuth in the quartz veins. So
Oh,
again, those fluids were clearly flowing through the intrusion and around the intrusion. And on one of the contacts, it was just like it was a grab sample from a quartz vein, and it came back over a kilo of bismuth in it.
oh,
So
wow.
1,200 grams per ton. And the reason why bismuth is so important for your audience is that it drops the melting point of gold. So it's easier to get gold out of those systems. And so when you see elevated tellurium, elevated bismuth, elevated moly in the fluids, so in those quartz veins that were around it and at the contacts, it's a really, really good sign of a big system. And so we haven't been able to drill that contact yet. And so to me, that's one of the most exciting ones because a kilo of
Massive.
bismuth is more rare than gold,
Right.
and so to get 1,000 grams per ton of that type of material is just incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, folks, when you're in the exploration business, you're kind of like looking for breadcrumbs to lead you to where you want to go. And as Stefan is talking about, in a chemical sense, those are your breadcrumbs. And that sounds very exciting, Stefan.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I can't wait to this is a relatively small program that we're doing. It was, reconnaissance for the most part. And so when we get to go back in the winter when everything's frozen, it opens up our possibilities. The nice thing about
Oh, we got a bit of a we got a bit of Stefan is frozen.
sound,
Maybe I'll
and
talk.
often
Oh, there
takes
you
the
are.
swamps or anything like
You
that.
came back, Stefan. You were frozen for a second
Oh,
there. Why don't you repeat what you were talking about?
sorry about that. Yeah, I'm in a hotel here, so my internet isn't exactly the best.
Okay, no worries.
I was just saying so working in Kirkland Lake, the benefit is we can drill year round. There's a lot of places where, the winter season is, no chance of doing things. But for us, the ground freezes up and we get better access to a lot of different places. So you have more flexibility of where you're putting your hole, access using sleds rather than, four-wheelers. Everything's a lot faster, more efficient. So for us, that's where we're gearing up basically for our winter drill season coming up. After this one, we get to do our analysis, get our assays back, figure out exactly what we're working with, and then go back to the planning station and go, okay, this is exactly how we're going to attack this with a much bigger drill program to actually get a better understanding of it.
So you mentioned we talked a little bit about the magnetite. Was there a relationship between that magnetite and the sulfides? Because that
Yes.
could be a vectoring tool, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yes, it's almost perfect from
Oh,
a vectoring tool. Yeah. So we saw within the core there was interspersed mobilized magnetite, and then altered magnetite. So it's definitely within the sulfides, around the sulfides. It's a direct
perfect.
correlate.
Excellent, excellent. Because, folks, sometimes when you've got a massive target like that, it can be good and it can be bad. The good part is, you got sulfides there. The bad part is it's massive. So what you got to figure out where to go in that massive target. But being able to sort of pinpoint is vectoring in is really important. So when you have these added tools, it helps you refine that drill program, which is what you were talking about there, Stefan.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And there is a plan that we're going to be looking at some more geophysics in the next 2 months to help us again get those products back to influence the drilling. The maggot surface is fantastic, but if we can get something that has some
Right.
depth to it, exactly, that opens up our understanding and 3D view of things. So we're working through a lot of different options and just trying to determine what one's going to be the best. My whole idea was if we can run some tests on the core to see what it responds best to, that would be my perfect world. Pull this out and you go, okay, this is what we're looking for. It responds perfectly to this style of geophysics, so let's use that tool, whether that be downhole or ground based or a combination of those things.
So, folks, there are different kinds of surveys, geophysical surveys that you can run. Some of them are really good, but they have limits to the depth penetration. So the initial, it really sparks up all around this intrusion for, like Stefan said, 18 kilometers. But that is kind of superficial. It'll give you a good idea what's in, let's say, the first couple hundred meters. But in this kind of a system, you want to get deeper penetration so that you can then target those deeper holes. And who knows, you might just be at the tip of an iceberg and, go down 300 meters, but you won't know that until you either put a hole into it or you do some more deeper penetrating and higher resolution geophysics. So then you can see these traps where the rocks have opened up and can allow more of the juices, as we say, to flow into them.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the other intrusion based models that we have in the Blake River rocks is, a great example where it goes down for kilometers. It was originally again classified as a VMS, and then as they got deeper and deeper, they realized that no, this is intrusion influenced. So the bottom part of that is basically cooked more, so there's more gold in it. And the intrusion basically pushed into that. So if we can find something like that at depth, then yeah, like you said, it's the tip of the iceberg. It's very exciting. Upper Beaver's the same thing. Agnico's putting that into development. It's an intrusion influenced deposit as well, and they're 2 kilometers deep now. So we have mineralization at surface, and most of the time these plutons go down forever.
Right.
So, for us, it's again just scratching the surface. First drill hole that we put into it, that's come back to confirm our thesis that this is, an
Yeah.
intrusion influence thing.
Okay.
So we're just starting.
So, are you going to do some age dating on the intrusion and the outside or at the contact of the intrusion and what's beside it?
You got it, Alan. Yeah, good call. So we actually have a project that we're doing with the Ontario Geological Survey. And so Evan Hasties is doing a big mapping project across Kirkland Lake in areas that haven't been done before. So the Blake River group of rocks, again, were constantly overlooked. They never got the love that they should have. But it was
Good for
just,
you. Good
it's
for you.
fantastic for me.
Yeah.
It's just that, it's that idea of dogma where, just look at it slightly differently with a different lens and you might, be onto something. And so, anyways, he's doing this huge project. And so we actually are going to get a bunch of age dating done through them for different rocks. So he's actually been to the project and seen, what we're working with. And, he was excited to be part of that to figure out exactly, do these align with those other intrusives that we're mineralizing at all these other events along the Blake River group.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I have had experience in the dogma back in I spent a lot of my career in diamond exploration and One project I was working on, we found a series of what were then considered unique diamond indicator minerals, and they were way out of the window of what everybody was looking for. But me and the geochemist, we had noticed that it was in these unique indicator minerals were in some of the world's most important diamond mines. And so we wrote a peer-reviewed paper on it, and all the dogma people were hacking on us. This was 20 years ago, and guess what? Some of those people that were hacking on us back then are now talking about unique diamond indicator minerals and their importance in exploration. So I'm a big fan of going where others have overlooked.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting. I love these origin stories of a project that isn't in an area or has something that is unique, and for what the conventional wisdom is, and you poke a hole and find something that you're not supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know, there's something incredibly satisfying about that too, where you're like, I think you were wrong.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you when I won't name his name, but he's a big university professor, and he was one of the most vocal about our peer-reviewed paper, and so it was kind of interesting 20 years later to see him writing about it, writing
Yeah,
about this book.
there's gotta be some satisfaction there for you, Alan, I'm sure.
Complete. And talking about the Abitibi and this area you're in, it's been looked over for 150 years.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that still great discoveries are being made all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like again, Upper Beaver is another one of those ones where it didn't fit the mold, and it still doesn't. You know, when you try to look it up, it's a scarnoid intrusion based influenced, system, and it's such a, one of our zones is called Dog's Breakfast. It's just a mishmash of a bunch of different things, and geologists are the worst for being like, it has to fit in this box. And
Absolutely.
it's like it's okay if it doesn't fit into the box. So, it's interesting, it's exciting, but the distance from the main, corridor of big regional structures is about the same for our current drilling as what, Upper Beaver is. And so we think again, it can very well be this scarnoid type of intrusion influenced, it's probably not going to fit into a perfect box, and we're okay with that.
Well, my box is that you use geophysics, geochemistry, and the truth machine, and keep using that because if it works, it works. The magic is working.
Exactly,
Don't
exactly.
worry, you'll have somebody write the paper when it's all said and done.
Exactly. Someone else will tell me what it is.
Exactly. For now, you've got great vectoring tools, and they're coinciding with the truth machine, the drilling. So
Yeah.
that's tremendously exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And the more holes we put into that area, the more we're going to understand the geophysics, and understand what it's telling us.
Plus the deeper penetrating and higher resolution geophysics. I mean, I can pretty much guess that the mag is going to be your best tool because you've got that association with the magnetite, which is
Yeah,
very magnetic. And that's great because sometimes the what's causing a geophysical anomaly, folks, can be kind of subtle. So if it's subtle, then it's harder to get that deep penetration with your geophysics. But if you've got something that's not subtle associated with the sulfides,
yeah.
game on.
Exactly. And you get this beautiful contrast with that, right? Because
Yeah,
the alteration with the magnetite, you have high, low, very close together. It's very sharp. So it's easy to see, which is the exciting part.
awesome. So before we go, let's talk a little bit about your share structure and your cash position.
Okay. So we have 113 million shares outstanding. The majority is held by Newfound Gold, Eric Sprott, Rob McEwen, Sean Rusin came in on our last raise. And so the last raise we did was in December. It was for about 1.4 million, and that was to get us to where we are. It was to take us through test this thesis. That we had done our soils last year and had come up with this hypothesis, and we basically kept it as tight as we could for that raise to be able to go forward with this. So at the beginning of the drill program, we were at about 1.2 million, and we had about 800,000 in flow through, which we're working through the majority of that with this drilling.
Yep.
Um, We've also applied for OJIP, so the Ontario Junior Exploration Program, which we'll more than likely be successful with, and so we should get another 200,000 coming in from that. And so we will be raising come, October, probably September, October in that range, for a meaningful amount to actually test this system. I'm a very firm believer in the majority of the money is going into exploration. This isn't a lifestyle company for me. I'm here to make a discovery and form deposit. You know, I want this to be quick, not this long drawn out thing. And so
Kill it
for
or make it live. That's what my another of my buddies used to say, that we're in the business of killing or making it live.
Bingo, exactly. And that's the whole thing with this is that money that we're going to be raising is going to go towards drilling for these targets. And like I said, we have these 8 beautiful targets surrounding this intrusion, that are geochemistry and geophysics related. And so it's easy. You put 3 holes into each one of those, and you know that if you're going to keep going or you're going to move on, right? So it's
You're not going
the
to be
the
moving on, Stefan.
no, I don't think so. Exactly, but you never know. The thing with rocks is they can be tricky. So
Yeah, but you got a hell of a start there. You've got all those overlapping vectoring tools, and the most important one, the truth machine. And folks, by the way, Stefan mentioned 3 legends in the mining business who have all made a lot of their wealth from investing in mining stocks. And I've always noticed that good projects tend to attract a lot of good people, not only as shareholders, but also on the team, because they've got a rock star team involved with the company as well. So I have a sneaky suspicion some of those people. Some of those legends will be on the phone with you any day now, and putting their name on the list of your next financing.
you got it. It's been like I said, it's been a very busy month.
Good. Busy's good. Well, I would be remiss not to, because I'm a junkie for high grade gold. When I was doing my homework and I saw your PowerPoint, it just stood out to me like a sore thumb. You've got an area there with complex structures. And again, folks, these structures are cracks in the earth that the metals bearing fluids make their way up. And when you're looking for an orogenic gold system, you need a few things. You need the right age of the rocks. Abitibi is, very old rocks. Then you need cracks in the earth for the fluids that come from really deep to make their way up towards the surface. And then ultimately you need high grade gold, and you've got very high grade gold in your surface sampling. So I'm wondering when you're going to get to that, because you have to call it the Allen gold system there or something.
That area we've put some drill holes into it and have come back with some incredible results with that high grade gold, exactly like you said. Like we got up to 561 grams per ton over a half meter. So we know it's there. Orogenic systems are notoriously hard to drill out.
Yep,
And so it's not necessarily that we've forgotten about this. It's just when we did our soil sampling, the whole point was to get some broader targets that
yep,
have this massive scale potential. And it opened up that part of our property that we're very excited about that aspect of it.
yep.
So the the thing with a 40,000 hectare package is that you have
Which do
a
you
very
pick?
long
Which is your
runway.
favorite child?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so there's lots of opportunity in the long run, and especially as we get a better capital in the market, then that just allows us to have more targets and do more work, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, the good fish, which is that area, that there's still opportunity there for sure, especially to
Oh.
the north. There's been no drill holes there. So it's open. Yeah, it's open.
So, folks, what Stefan is sort of alluding to there is that um, when you have these complexity to the cracks in the earth, it's exactly what you want, but it doesn't make exploration easy.
Bingo.
Now, why you want to test that and keep going at it is because the prize is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I have a sneaky suspicion that Rob McEwen might like that target too, because he's also a junkie for high grade gold. And you also have Denny Laviolette, who was involved in one of the most important new orogenic gold discoveries that I kind of coining the Newfoundland as the next possible Abitibi.
Yeah.
And they could be finding gold systems on there for many, many years. So Denny is a very good person to help you with that target, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. He's probably the perfect person to be the chair of this company, from that regard. So, um, he's involved regularly on all this stuff and very helpful in the targeting and helping with even right now with what we're doing, looking at the big picture. That's his style of thinking. He's an explorationist, and there's a reason that Newfound's moving into development now. And so he basically said like, okay, my job's done here. You guys are going to be putting this into a mine, which is, exciting and that's super cool. But, I'm an
I'm an
exploration at heart.
explorer.
So
Yeah,
let me explore. Exactly. So
great.
this is, it's amazing
So
having conversations with him.
Newfound Gold owns a big chunk of Kirkland Lake Discoveries Corp, right?
Correct. Yeah. So they're around, I think 23% now,
Oh, wow.
of a shareholder. So yeah, they have a big chunk of our stock.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
before we close, Stefan, catalysts. Well, obviously, assay results.
You got it. Yeah. So we put out today that beautiful drill hole. It's some of the nicest core that I've got to personally. You go to PDC or something like that, and you see these beautiful core boxes, and you it's like, wow, that core is amazing. And seeing the massive sulfides in our own core coming out of the ground fresh, it was what an experience. And I was overwhelmed with that core. It was so cool to be, this is mine. This is my project. All this hard work and it's paying off, right?
Awesome.
Um,
Good on you,
so
Stefan.
the assays from that will be coming out whenever, the lab gets to them. I was expecting anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, but it's highly dependent on how many assays go in from
Yeah,
all around. And because it's polymetallic, it's going to be processed in Vancouver. We're not just looking at photon assay for gold.
right.
So, multi-element, it's going to take a bit.
So
So
one of
that's the
my
biggest.
tricks when I'm running an exploration program, Stefan, is I've drilled a lot of holes down here in Mexico, and fortunately, I've found my own little trick there, which is that you get the preparation of the core done in a faraway lab. And
Yeah,
then you send the concentrates to Vancouver because the big holdup in Vancouver is the sample preparation, not the actual assaying. Uh,
exactly.
and is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we have a local prep lab in Timmins.
Perfect.
And so we can just ship from Kirkland Lake up to Timmins and they do all the prep there. And then they just send the concentrates over to Vancouver, and then it's just right into the assays. So it's
Okay.
very fast. Once they get the prep done, exactly what you're saying, it's quick. So hopefully the backup isn't too big, but I know MSA who we're using for this program, they put 24-hour shifts in. So they're running 7 days a week, 24 hours, because things are picking up in mining right now. So
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, you've got a, faster way to get in the queue there because if you put it in the labs in Vancouver for prep, you're going to wait even longer. So
exactly.
good, that's good. So I think your 2 to 4 week sort of idea is probably a good thing. Now, folks, don't put it on pen and paper. And don't think that because it may take 5 weeks or 6 weeks, that that's a bad thing. Sometimes, if you have over limits, you also have to get more work done. So just be patient. This is the first hole into a new discovery. And I think it's going to lead to the emergence of a very exciting discovery for you guys, Stefan, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Alan. It's an exciting time to be doing this. So thank
Excellent.
you.
So, in addition to the assays, you're going to be doing some geophysics and some more sampling and refining your targets so that you can have a high impact when you go back in there with more drill holes.
Exactly. We wanted to wait to drill more at like where this hole was once we get our assays back so we know exactly what we're looking at because it's a lot easier to you look at the core and you go, okay, that looks the exact same. We can assume it's blank, blank, and blank.
Right.
So once you get your geochemistry back and your grades, it's a lot easier to know exactly what you're working with to then alter your drill program as you're in it. Whereas when you have to wait 4 weeks to get those results, then you're basically drilling blind with certain things. So with the alteration and the chemistry highly influences where you put your next hole. And so, if we can see where that alteration sequence is higher and more aggressive, then that's where we can target more. And so with the geochemistry, that's going to kick out exactly what's happening. We're going to see that. So we're waiting to go back to Winnie. So we're currently testing a couple of our outliers to be able to see what's going on with those truth machine into that. So that'll
Oh,
either
so will
be
you do that drilling right away, like fairly soon?
yeah, we're only doing a couple at this point,
Okay.
just based off of the budget that we have.
Yep.
So it's not going to be an extensive test, but again, it's a probe into it to see, is this the right spot for this tool, or do we need to change something around? And so we'll get a couple of extra locations that we get to test out. And so we'll have the results of those as well over the next, again, couple of months. And then with that, we'll move into our geophysics and then we'll be back drilling as soon as the ground's frozen so that we can, again, open up the areas that we can actually drill in.
Well, I love I love getting on top of a brand new discovery early, and I'm pretty good at sniffing these things out, and I think you're going to have a lot of news flow, and I think you're going to have a great time drilling this thing because I sure like what I see so far, Stefan.
Awesome. No, I'm really happy to hear that, Alan. And I've been a firm believer in our thesis and what our approach is, for years now. The first time I went to Kirkland Lake and drove through that corridor from Kirkland Lake to Val d'Or and seeing mine after mine after mine after mine after mine after mine, I was like, this is a special location. It's not, this beautiful place that you get to fly, 12 hours to and it's exotic. It's just like, no, this is a mining location.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I fell in love with it when I came onto the project and I've been a firm believer. I've taken every opportunity I can to buy more stock so that I can, win with the rest of the shareholders on this one. So Yeah, it's nice to see other people are getting to that point too of belief and understanding. And sometimes it just takes the right person putting it onto your radar that you go, wait a minute, why have I not seen this before?
Well, I
So
did
that's where,
see it, but when I see a lot of projects with good geophysics and good geochem. But when I see it in the drill hole, then I get really excited. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to more of these interviews with you, Stefan.
same, Alan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, did you have any closing comment, or do we get
No,
done?
I don't think so. Just stay tuned. The only thing that one thing I do want to talk about is we do a video series. So I've been an investor in junior mining space for years, like 15, 18 years. And one of my biggest frustrations with companies is this veil of deception where, you're like, hey, look, and then you disappear for 6 months, and then, oh, hey, look. And so we've done a thing called KLDC Treasure Hunters, and our whole premise of it is to bring you along on the journey. And it's where, I have Drake and Mike as our senior geologists, and they'll be wearing GoPros when they're out in the field. And so, it's an opportunity to see exactly what they're doing. I brought you along whenever I went to Quebec City for, a conference. So you can see, okay, so what is the CEO actually doing, in these meetings, or what does that look like? And so we've taken this on and it's definitely a challenge, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it. But the whole idea is, whenever I found that drill hole at for the Winning Lake one, and seeing it align, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, if this is the case, if we have more of this in other areas, then this could be this and this could be this. And I was like, if somebody was looking over my shoulder while that happened, they would have been like, this is amazing. This is so exciting. And so that was where that idea was born. And we really want other people to experience that thrill of the treasure hunt, because that's why I'm in this, is it's
Oh my gosh. You're
that journey.
speaking to the converted. You're speaking to my heart. I've been working so hard for years to get companies to use digital marketing tools to bring exactly what you said, bring your shareholders into the treasure hunting endeavor. It's
Yeah.
tremendously exciting. So, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to hear that, Stefan. So, where does my audience find that? On your website?
So we have it on our website, and we also we just host it through YouTube. So Kirkland Lake Discoveries YouTube,
Okay.
and you'll find us there in KLDC Treasure Hunters. We try to put out an episode every 2 weeks. When we're drilling it, it's actually there's more stuff going on, but we're really busy, and so it's harder. And so it's just managing all of those things. But there was one that went out today that you get to see the core close, and we talk about it. You go to the drill site, you see exactly what's happening. So I don't know. To me, it's the future. It's the way that these companies are going to need to do this, so that
Absolutely.
because people don't care if they're not invested in it, if they're not following along and getting what's happening. Because like you said, the majority of people, they don't understand half the words that go into these press releases.
But they
But
can see sulfides and they
yeah,
can
that's an easy
see
one.
geophysics and they can see a truth machine. And if you go and you explain it to them, all of a sudden your shareholders and potential shareholders, they become really well-informed shareholders. And
Bingo.
that makes them sticky and it makes them so that they don't sort of make investment decisions on emotions or the movement of a stock on a daily basis. They can say,
Exactly.
wow, hey, I'm a shareholder. I want to own this company. They got this and they got this and they're going to do this. And I love it. I love it. It's what I'm all about, Stefan.
Exactly.
Using the
Exactly.
digital tools to and the digital platforms to tell this exciting story of searching for buried treasures with the truth machine. There is nothing more exciting, and our industry needs to do that. And so awesome stuff, Stefan.
Yeah, no, and you nailed it. It's that I have goosebumps right now. The
Uh,
like that hunt, that whole piece of it, like that's why all of us are in this,
but
like it's it's not easy work. There's long days, long seasons. The thing that drives us is that excitement of the hunt. And, to be
They
at a
make
stage.
movies about the treasure
Exactly.
hunting, folks. That's our business is treasure hunting. We're poking
Exactly.
holes in the ground looking for buried treasures.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Oh,
yeah,
I
come
think
along for
you
the ride
got
so you can see
one.
it.
I think you got one, Stefan, and I'm super happy that you're helping the non-geologist investor out there get engrossed in the process of doing that treasure hunting with the truth machine.
I like it.
Awesome. I'm going to close it off, Stefan. So there you go, folks. As I said, I love it when I can spot a new discovery off the first hole, and I really like what I see with Kirkland Lake Discoveries. Corp. I like that the name has discoveries in it. And as always, do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. And I'm so happy to hear how they're using the digital tools to help you do that homework. So, as Stefan said, check out their YouTube channel, check out their website, do that homework. This is an exciting project. I'm very enthusiastic, and I think it's going to evolve into something really important. So check out Kirkland Lake. Thanks, Stefan, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Awesome.